Welcome, and thank you for joining Caring for Your Workplace, Workplace Injury Prevention and Return to Work Essentials. This four-part training series aims to equip employers with practical knowledge and tools to effectively prevent, respond to, and manage workplace injuries, thereby supporting employee retention. The goal is to support safe work environments, ensure compliance with applicable regulations, and promote timely, successful return to work outcomes. Through these sessions, employers will gain a better understanding of their role in supporting employee well-being while reducing risk and maintaining productivity. This training is sponsored by Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services and delivered through a grant from the Minnesota Retain Program. CMJTS works closely with businesses in 11 counties in central Minnesota, helping them make their business grow. We work with employers to connect them with qualified workers, connect them with employee training, including incumbent worker training, on-the-job training, work experience, and registered apprenticeships. We also help connect them with business resources and support. If you are a business in central Minnesota looking to grow and would like to learn more about the services CMJTS can provide, contact our team of business service coordinators or scan the QR code for more information on our website. This is Module 2, Part 2, Returning to Work in Physical Environments. If you are joining us for the first time, this training stands on its own, but you will get more out of it if you have completed Module 1 and Module 2, Part 1 first. Both are available by going to the QR code at the end of the presentation. Today we focus on employers in physical industries, production, construction, warehousing, and the trades. The injuries are more severe, the restrictions are more complex, and the stakes for getting returned to work right are higher. Let's get into it. The objection I hear most often from employers in these industries is that our jobs are all physical. There's just no light duty here. I understand why that feels true. When your operation runs on forklifts and power tools and heavy lifts, it's hard to imagine where a person with a 10-pound lifting restriction fits. But here's what I've found. The employers who say there's no light duty have almost never done a systematic task inventory. They're thinking of their highest physical demand roles, and in most operations, those represent maybe 60 to 70% of the work. There's always something else. Every physical operation has non-physical functions. Some examples are safety observation, quality inspection, tool room management, training documentation. These tasks exist in virtually every facility. They are real and valuable, and they are almost universally compatible with common physical restrictions. Operations that do a formal task inventory before an injury happens identify an average of 8 to 12 viable modified duty options. That number surprises employers because they never looked. And the cost point. In physical industries, temporary total disability benefits for serious injuries can run $1,200 to $2,000 per week or more in wage replacement alone. That's before medical costs, lost productivity, and replacement labor. Every week you find suitable work is a week you avoid that cost. Physical environment return to work requires more creativity than office return to work, but it also has higher financial stakes. The injuries are more severe, the absences longer, and the claim costs higher. That means the return on a good return to work program is also higher. Let's build that program. Before we talk about return to work options, let's understand what we're dealing with. Physical environment injuries differ from office injuries in two important ways. They are more severe, and the restriction profiles are more complex. The volume leader is overexertion and musculoskeletal injury. Lifting, pushing, pulling. These cause the most serious non-fatal injuries in physical industries. The restriction profiles they generate, such as weight limits, no bending, no twisting, are actually workable for return to work. because sedentary and supervisory functions remain available. Equipment-related incidents are the highest severity cases. When a forklift operator is restricted from all powered equipment, that restriction eliminates their primary role entirely. But your most experienced operator knows every traffic pattern, every safety protocol, every inch of that facility. That expertise doesn't go away. Safety observer, trainer, dock coordinator, that person has real value in those roles. Repetitive motion and cumulative trauma gets dismissed as part of the job until it requires surgery. Plan for a genuine role change, but almost always a viable one. Slips, trips, and falls on hazardous terrain create restriction profiles that eliminate most floor work. Push to non-floor roles, such as tool room, dispatch, safety office, and training. And acute trauma, such as lacerations, fractures, and burns. These require phased returns. Start administrative. Add like physical in week 3. Build a graduated schedule from day 1. Don't wait for full clearance to start planning. I want to spend a few minutes on something that's specific to physical environments and critical. In office return to work, the biggest risk of pushing too hard is discomfort and a slower recovery. In physical environments, the risk is far more serious injury, and that injury is on you as the employer. When a warehouse worker with a shoulder injury is allowed to keep doing 2-hand lifts because he seems fine, and he tears the rotator cuff further, that is now a surgical case that was previously a conservative care case. The employer allowed work that exceeded restrictions, creating the conditions for a far worse outcome, and faces significantly increased claims cost and potential liability. Restrictions are non-negotiable. This is the message supervisors need to hear explicitly, not use good judgment. Restrictions are non-negotiable. If the doctor wrote 20 pounds, the answer to 25 is always no. I have seen supervisors say, it's just a little over, he's fine. That supervisor just made a legal decision without legal authority, and if that employee is re-injured, the employer owns it. The employee cannot self-authorize. This is counterintuitive. An employee who says, I feel great, I can do more. The supervisor's job is to say, I'm glad you feel good. I need you to stay within your restrictions. That is not being unhelpful. It is protecting the employee from their own eagerness. Provide a script for supervisors. I know you feel ready, and that's a great sign, but our job is to follow the doctor's guidance. That's what protects you, and it's what we're going to do. Write it down, practice it. It is the right answer every time. Safety culture. Job hazard analysis is not just for permanent roles. Every transitional duty assignment should be evaluated for its own hazards before the employee starts. A person on restricted duty who is assigned to a new area they've never worked in. What are the traffic patterns? What training is needed? What are the pinch points? What PPE is required? Don't skip this step because it feels like extra work. OSHA recordability. Re-injury during modified duty is OSHA recordable. A second claim arising from the transitional role is worse than the first in almost every way. More complex, more expensive, and a clear sign to OSHA that your return to work process needs scrutiny. I recommend taking a picture of the checklist on the right and completing it for every return to physical role. It takes 10 minutes and it documents your due diligence. It's also evidence of good faith, compliance, if the claim is ever disputed. This slide is about what supervisors should do when an employee keeps exceeding their restrictions despite being told not to. What's really happening here in almost every case is that it's not defiance. The employee wants to prove they're still capable, they feel guilty watching their teammates carry their load, or they're afraid of losing their job. None of those are bad motivations, but all of them lead to the same outcome: an employee doing work they're not cleared for in an environment where re-injury is serious. Step 1, address it immediately every time. The moment a supervisor observes a restriction being exceeded and says nothing, the employee has learned the restriction is optional. You cannot undo that. The conversation doesn't need to be long. I need you to step back from that. Your restriction says no lifting over 20 pounds and that box is 40. I know you feel good, but this is what we need to do right now. Then walk away. You need compliance, not agreement. Step 2, document every instance. Every time a supervisor redirects an employee, write it down. Date, time, what you observed, what you said, whether they complied. If that employee is later re-injured, your carrier's legal team will ask one question: did you enforce the restrictions? A log showing consistent enforcement puts you in a very different position than no documentation at all. And the employee knows you're writing it down, often changes the behavior on its own. Step 3, have the escalating conversation. If the pattern continues, sit down with the employee directly. Not a disciplinary hearing, a direct conversation. Tell them you've seen this more than once, you understand why, and you need a commitment. Ask them specifically, can you commit today to staying within your restrictions until your doctor clears you for more? Most employees, when asked directly and treated with respect, will say yes. Document that conversation and have them sign it if you can. If it continues after that, this is HR territory. You cannot take adverse action because someone filed a workers' comp claim. That is retaliation under Minnesota statute. But you can discipline for failing to follow a documented safety directive. These are two different things. Before you act, call your carrier and loop in human resources. They have seen this scenario before and will guide you through. This is your reference table. When medical restrictions come in, this is where you start. Every row is a restriction pattern you'll see commonly in physical environments, and every row shows you what's still available. No lifting over 10 to 20 pounds is the most common physical restriction and almost always the most workable. Think about all the functions in your facility that don't involve heavy lifting. These roles exist in nearly every operation and they are valuable. No powered equipment. This one challenges employers most because the restriction eliminates the employee's primary role. But think about who you have. Your most experienced forklift offer knows the traffic patterns, the docks, the warehouse. They have expertise in many areas. The injury took away their ability to operate, but it didn't take away their knowledge. No prolonged standing. A seated inspection station, a tool room stool, a seated workstation at the end of the production line. These small environmental modifications open up roles for employees who can't stand for extended periods. Make sure you're asking the question, what can they do? Where can they sit and still contribute? No vibrating tools is highly specific. An employee who can't use power tools can still do layout, measuring, hand tool only, supervision. Layout and measuring are skilled, important functions. Single arm or hand work. Voice-guided coordination, inventory counting, routing, one-hand capable roles exist in most operations. Assembly roles that are genuinely one-hand accessible with ergonomic setup are also worth exploring. Consult your carrier's nurse case manager before assigning any assembly function. Foot or ankle injuries on uneven terrain restrictions eliminate most outdoor and site work. But every construction project has an office or a trailer function, permit tracking, material ordering, vendor coordination. Bring the employee into the controlled environment. This slide covers the 5 most common roles we hear about when employers say there's no light duty here. For every one of them, there is. Notice the pattern across each example. The transitional duty uses the employee's existing expertise. It is not make work. It is finding the adjacent skilled functions that exist in every operation and that genuinely benefit from experienced people doing them. Your full role-by-role guide is in the toolkit. It includes all 9 positions covered in this training, along with the accommodation option and cost ranges for each. Review it before your next injury so you already know where those employees can go. If there is one thing I want you to do after this section, it's this. Build functional job descriptions for your 5 highest risk roles before the next injury happens. When a physician writes, "no heavy lifting," they mean something specific. But without a functional job description, you don't know if your job requires 30 pounds or 80 pounds. You can't tell the physician whether the employee can return to their role or needs something modified. With a functional job description, the conversation becomes, here is exactly what this job requires physically. Can this employee do it within their current restrictions? That question gets answered in one conversation. When restrictions come in, give the functional job description to the treating provider with this question. Can this employee safely perform the attached job description within their current restrictions? Ask for the answer in functional terms. No lifting over 25 pounds is actionable. Light duty is not. The full functional job description component checklist, such as covering lifting, carrying, standing, walking, grip, vibration, reach, environment, and PPE, is in your toolkit as a fillable template. Start with your 3 most common injury positions. Each one takes 30 to 60 minutes. There are 2 free resources. The NIOSH has physical demand analysis tools on their website, and that is listed on the slide. Your workers' comp carrier nurse case manager may also help facilitate this. Many carriers offer it as a service. For serious injuries in physical environments, waiting for a full medical clearance before starting return to work almost always guarantees a longer absence and higher claim cost. The alternative is graduated return to work, a phased approach that starts as soon as the employee can contribute in any capacity and increases physical demand as their body is ready. Phase 1 begins as soon as the employee has any functional capacity at all. They don't need to be physically ready to return to the floor. They need to be able to sit, communicate, and contribute. Documentation, coordination, training, safety observation from a designated seated or standing position. This is real work with real value, and it keeps the employee connected to the workplace, connected to their coworkers, and connected to a routine, all of which research shows significantly accelerates physical recovery. Reduced hours are often appropriate in Phase 1. 4 to 6 hours per day is a legitimate medically appropriate assignment. Get the offer letter out within 48 hours of receiving the first set of restrictions. Phase 2 adds light physical tasks after the first provider reevaluation shows improved function and relaxed restrictions. Inspection work that requires standing, short distance walking on level surfaces, alternating sit-stand tasks. The first week of Phase 2 requires daily supervisor check-ins. Not weekly, daily. You are asking the employee to do more than they were doing in phase 1, and you need to know immediately if they're having difficulty. Phase 3 brings the employee into the production environment in a genuine, near regular role, modified only where restrictions still require it. They're working alongside their regular crew, contributing to production targets, and approaching their pre-injury role. This phase has enormous psychological value, being back with the team, doing meaningful production work, having a visible path back. These accelerate the final stages of recovery. Full return requires written clearance from a physician, specific, documented, no restrictions remaining. This is not an assumption based on how the employee seems, it is a document. 2 things after full return. Supervisor check-ins for the first 2 weeks to monitor for pain recurrence and an ergonomic review of the workstation or workflow that caused the original injury. Close the loop on prevention. Graduated return to work is not a special accommodation. It is the standard of care for serious physical injuries. It is how you protect the employee, protect the employer, and close the claim at the lowest possible cost. Physical environment return to work carries legal and safety risks. Assigning work beyond restrictions is the single highest source of legal exposure. If you assign an employee to a role that exceeds their medical restrictions and they are re-injured, you created the condition for that injury. Document that you received restrictions, review them, design the assignment within them, and brief the employee in writing before day 1. Minnesota law is clear on the suitability work obligation. When suitable work exists, you must offer it. An employee who has suitable work available and doesn't offer it has continued liability. If you genuinely don't have suitable work, document that you looked, complete the 3-question test, record the result, and keep it in the claim file. On OSHA recordability, a re-injury during modified duty is still an OSHA recordable and will trigger a review of your return to work process. Conduct a job hazard analysis for every transitional assignment. Document it. Brief the employee on any new area. For unionized employers, check the collective bargaining agreement before you make any modified duty offer. Transitional duty that displaces a union member or violates job classification provisions creates a grievance on top of the workers' comp claim. Involve your carrier's legal resources before making an offer. Document, follow restrictions, conduct job hazard analysis, check the CBA. An hour of prep prevents months of complications. Let's apply the 3-question return to work test and how it's applied specifically to physical environments. In physical environments, question 1 sometimes gets a no. That's okay, keep going. Question 2 and 3 almost always produce viable options. If you've done the task inventory and you're willing to look beyond the production floor. Question 1, can they do any part of their current job? For heavy equipment operators, construction laborers with terrain restrictions, and workers with significant upper body restrictions, the answer may be genuinely no. Their primary role is entire physical, and the restriction eliminates all of it, but still ask the question fully. Question 2, another task in the business. This is where physical environment return to work is won or lost. Every production facility, construction company, warehouse has functions that don't happen on the floor. Dispatch, safety compliance, tool management, training. Have you inventoried those? The employers who answer no to this question have almost always never sat down and listed what those functions are. The task inventory in your toolkit is the tool for this. Complete it before the next injury. Question 3, can we modify? Physical environment modifications require more safety analysis than office modifications. A weight limit policy, a seated inspection station, a tool substitution are all viable, but all require job hazard analysis before implementation. The modification must not create a new hazard. Document the modification, brief the employee, confirm with the carrier. Those 3 steps protect you legally and protect the employee physically. If you go through all 3 questions systematically with a completed task inventory in hand, you will find a return to work opportunity in virtually every case. The ones that genuinely have nothing are rare, and they are becoming rarer the more systematically you prepare. Everything on this slide is free and it's specific to your industry. Bookmark these resources now before you need them, so you're not searching during an active claim. I want to highlight 3 in particular. Minnesota OSHA on-site consultation is completely free, completely confidential, and carries no penalties. An OSHA consultant will come to your facility, help you identify hazards, and help you build a safety program without any enforcement action. This program is dramatically underutilized by small employers. Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry has a dedicated return to work resource page with suitable work, guidance, forms, and contact information for questions specific to Minnesota law. And as I've said throughout this training, your workers' comp carrier is your partner. They have resources available before a claim, during the claim, and for building your return to work program proactively. Use them, call them before the next injury happens. Now that you know what modified work is and that it should be available, let's walk through exactly what you need to do from the moment restrictions come in to the employee's first day back. 6 steps in order. Skipping any one of them is where employers run into trouble. Step 1. Get the written restriction form from the treating provider. In physical industries, ask specifically for the functional capacity evaluation or a job-specific restriction form that includes weight limits, postural requirements, and how frequently a task can be performed. Occasional, frequent, or constant. Read it literally. Your job is to understand what it says, not interpret it loosely. Step 2. Identify available modified work. This is where physical environment employers sometimes get stuck. The work is physical and the restrictions are physical. Don't stop at the obvious. Run the restrictions through the 3-question return to work test and pull out your transitional duty task inventory. Quality inspection, inventory counting, safety observation, training newer employees, these exist in almost every operation and are compatible with most physical restrictions. Step 3, complete the written offer letter. Use the suitable work offer letter template in your toolkit. Fill in every field: job start, title, hours, pay rate, specific duties, and which restrictions you are accommodating. A complete offer letter closes disputes before they start. Step 4, call your workers' comp carrier before the employee returns. Provide the offer letter, the restrictions, and the start date. If the employee was receiving TTD benefits, a valid offer of suitable work can stop or reduce those payments. Your carrier can also help you understand how the return to modified work duty affects your OSHA 300 log. That record-keeping question comes up often in physical industries, and your carrier is your best resource for navigating it. Step 5, brief the supervisor and set up the workspace. Share the restrictions, not the diagnoses, with the regular supervisor before day 1. In physical environments, be explicit. The restrictions are real and they are enforced. Peer pressure to just help out or run a machine for a few minutes is one of the leading causes of re-injury. The supervisor's job is to protect the returning employee from that dynamic. Step 6. Monitor, document, and reevaluate. Check in at day 3 and at the end of week 1. Every new provider appointment is a trigger to ask whether restrictions change and to update your carrier. Set a reevaluation date. The goal is always a return to full duty, and regular check-ins keep that on track. Write it down, notify the carrier, and don't assume the job is done once they're back. These 3 habits protect you and support your employee. 3 action items. I'm not going to give you a long list. I'm going to give you 3 things. Complete the transitional duty task inventory for your operation. It's in your resource toolkit. It takes 30 to 60 minutes, and it's the single most valuable thing you can do today to improve your return to work outcomes. 2. Build functional job descriptions for your 3 highest injury risk roles. Not all of your roles, just start with 3. Each one takes 30 to 60 minutes and will make every future return to work conversation faster and more precise. Build from there. 3. Brief your supervisors on 2 things. Restrictions are non-negotiable, and the 3-question test is required every time. These are not complicated messages. Write them on an index card, put it in the supervisor's mailbox, practice the conversation until it's automatic. I want to close Module 2 the way we closed Module 1, with a reminder of what this is really about. Return to work is not a cost management strategy. It's not a compliance exercise. It's how we take care of people who get hurt at work by keeping them connected, keeping them contributing, and getting them back to full capacity as safely and quickly as possible. The employers who do this well are not the ones who never have injuries. They are the ones who respond to injuries with a plan, with compassion, and with a culture that says you matter here. That's the employer you are trying to be. You now have the tools to be that employer consistently for every employee, every time. Everything we've covered today, the task inventory, the offer letter template, the medical restrictions tracking form, is available in your employer resource toolkit. Scan the QR code for access, along with all of the training slides from this series. Thank you for attending.